Hello and welcome to the first of what I hope will be a regular monthly webinar. This month I'm going to be talking about how tenants and contractors can use Rentman Online to make the problem of maintenance issues a little more frictionless. So I'm going to start with a very simple workflow, and then we'll go back and look at it afterwards and see some of the options you could have chosen as at various stages through. So we're going to start by looking at, we're going to log in as a tenant, and here I have one tenancy set up on this test database. And if you look here under tenants, under notes, we've got a Rentman Online login. You've probably seen it already on your own systems. So a username, typically the tenant's email address, and then a generated password. You can click email here to send the credentials to the tenant for them to be able to log in, and refresh updates the web server with those credentials if you change them. Now you can also go up here under system, Rentman Online. You can send credentials to tenants, landlords, contractors, or everybody on the system in one go from there. But we're going to log in now as this tenant. So I have this waiting, Rentman Online, the email you saw, and then we log in. Here's the tenancy information for Noagom. That's the property. Rent is overdue. This information, we can configure it so the tenant doesn't see it should you wish. But the tenant can see the rent due, rent received, deposit, posted to, typically that's posted to, received and then posted to the scheme. Certificates that have become, that are active throughout this tenancy. And they can click on here to see them. Appointments. If you schedule an appointment at the property for an inspection, or if the tenant's moving out and you're showing it to other applicants, those appointments can appear here as well, so the current tenant can see what's coming up. Here under maintenance, they'll see a list of maintenance issues that have been submitted for the property, and here under journals. I'm going to talk about this in more detail later, but because you can configure very specifically what they can see and what they can't. But they can see here in the journals, they might see their AST, here's the passport, emails that have been sent, and anything else in the journal that you approve them seeing. But what we're really interested in at the moment is here, maintenance. So the tenant has logged in with the credentials you sent them, and they're reporting a maintenance issue. They've got a leak. They've got the bathroom toilet has got a leak. They can upload a photograph if they want, and they submit. So now it's gone in, and here under maintenance, they can see what they've just submitted. Here in Rentman, this is on a timer. In a moment, it's going to come up showing red. But we've got here a new task from Rentman. There's a few I'll come back to here. As I say, it will flash up red when I think it's every minute it decides to do that. Plus, of course, if we look here, if we look at breaking news, you can see that a maintenance request has just been added. If you've got breaking news shown, there's another one from earlier. So the tenant has issued a thing. Right. There's other ways you can be informed. I'll come back to those in a moment. But if we open this, we've just got an ordinary task. Did I double click? There we go. Bathroom, toilet, there's a leak. We've assigned it to this user, and that was an option that I've got set. We'll talk about that again in a moment. But we can now assign it to a contractor. We've got a contractor called John Smith It's a plumber, and the task is being assigned to him. Well, if we now go over here and look at contractors, here's John Smith. You can see he's a plumber. Here under admin, we've got that same Rentman Online login with an email button and a password and a refresh. Same applies. We can send those credentials out. But what that contractor, John Smith, can do, I'm working on a desktop browser here, but of course, contractors, tenants perhaps as well, are likely to be using a phone or an iPad. It works the same. The screen adjusts itself as you would expect, depending for each. So John Smith can log in, and look, there's the task we just assigned to him. I'll talk about keys again I'll talk about keys in a moment, but he can log into his outstanding task. He's got the tenant information, telephone number, email address, so he can gain access if he needs to. He's got information about whatever has been put in Rentman on there. And while he's here, he can upload a photograph of his own, perhaps when the problem's done, where the problem's fixed. He can enter how much it's going to cost. If he's got an invoice ready, he can upload it at this point, and he can mark it as complete. And he can put in done, if you like. So this is the contractor using his phone or his iPad while he's still at the property, should he wish. And he can click save. And there it is. He's got no outs because he's marked that completed. He's now got no outstanding tasks. But he does have this one that's waiting for an invoice. We put the price in there, but the bill, which has turned into a bill, we'll have a look at that in a moment, but he hasn't submitted his invoice yet. If we go back to his dashboard, I said I'd come back to the keys. It may well be that for many of the contractors you assign work to, you trust them, you know them, and they come in 8 o'clock in the morning because they've got a dozen maintenance tasks to fix that day for you. And they come in to get all the keys. Well, they can now do that themselves if you allow them. So he could come in, he's got his list of tasks, quotes, we'll come to the quotes in a moment. You can see the keys that he needs for today. And he can check them out. He can check them out of Rentman. He can't check them back in. And you can upload a photograph of him taking them out as well if you wish. So I'm just going to click check out at the moment. We'll go and have a look at that. There's one I did the other day. So we come back to Rentman. There was, as I promised, a new task from Rentman Online in another minute or two. Tasks recently modified by Rentman Online would also light up red because the contractor has just changed it. You can see it's been completed. Contractors added a note saying done. Did I not? I forgot to add a. I forgot to add a photograph. Had we added? Take my word for it. You can test it yourself. Had I added a photograph, it would have appeared here. There we are. It's done. Now, if we go and have a look at that property in management, and we look at bills, there's the 800 I just submitted. Gone straight in without anybody in the office having to do anything. But it does get even better. I said there were some options. The only thing you've had to do in this process was assign it to the contractor. But it may well be, while we're on this page, it may well be that this landlord for this property has a preferred contractor, John Smith. You saw John Smith was a plumber. Double click on this. And for Rentman Online, if Rentman Online submits a task submitted by the tenant, it will do a text contextual search of looking at, it'll see bathroom, the leak, a toilet, and say, oh, that's going to be a plumber. And it does similar for electricians and so forth. We've got it set up here as Rentman Online, but for this one landlord, this one contractor, you might decide just to go straight to send a job sheet. That happens, you don't even have to assign it to the contractor. The tenant submits it, it goes into Rentman, and the contractor will see it next time he logs in or refreshes his screen. Um, or we could have said, get a quote from the contractor instead. And if that's been set, rather than the job sheet being assigned, it goes into the. I'm not going to go through that now. It's a whole other webinar of its own. But under here, we've got the ability to submit a request for quote. And what that does is submit one of these that goes out to the preferred contractor, and nothing happens until they get the quote. But you did see when we were logged in, here's what I did earlier. He's got an outstanding quote to go and do at this same property. It's some water problem in the kitchen. Now, I said we'd go back and take a look at some of the other options we've got in Rentman. Here under Setup, under Company Preferences, and under Rentman Online, the system default is tenants are allowed to submit maintenance issues. Now, you can override that if you don't want to use this. If you're using fixed flow or you just want them to phone, you don't trust them to submit nonsense, you can say tenants are not allowed to submit maintenance issues. Or, as I said, those other items, rent, deposit, journals, etc., you can make those invisible on when the tenant logs in, and you can say tenants are only allowed to submit maintenance issues, if you so wish. You also get to choose who an issue gets assigned to. Does it get assigned to the if it's a managed property, and probably will be, the building's property manager, or it gets assigned to no one, or it gets assigned to admin, or these are other users I've got set up on this test Rentman. Your own login may well appear down here. If you want to get an email, if you want the issue to be assigned to you, and then Rentman can also send emails to whoever is assigned, to no one, or to any of these things. So you should never miss an issue being raised through Rentman Online. Now, going back to, we're looking at all this. If we go back to where we were logged in as a tenant over here, and we looked at journals, got a password added, an email sent, and such like. Now you can filter what the tenant will actually see there, assuming you're going to allow them to see anything, by going onto here and saying tenants see these journals, any legal documents, so the AST, Housing Act, any notices that you send out will be automatically be visible to the tenant. Any inspection report, any emails you send them. I've unticked here any emails you receive from them. And there are others marked as tenant visible. What does that mean? Well, if you go into the tenant, if you go and look specifically at this tenant and their journals, well, you go in here and you see email sent. This journal, you get the chance to say specifically this is visible to the tenant on the web or it's not. So if there's something that falls under one of those other categories that would normally allow it to be viewed, you can override it here for that specific journal and switch it off. I'm not covering landlords today, but you can assume that landlords have a very similar screen to what the tenants see, and you have the same ability with journals to make their journals visible or not visible as you see fit. Now, what you can, so there's the tenant and the contractor um, logging in and seeing Rentman. What you can also do, obviously, is log in yourself. Any user on Rentman, if we've allowed them to, can log in. Now I've set myself up on this test data. I've set my own login up. Might as well go and look at it. Show you here. So you look under setup, you look at user preferences. And here I am. It's called admin, but here I am under general, there's my email address. Under admin, I'm allowed web access. So you can choose not, you may not want everybody in the office to be able to do this remotely. Again, you've got a refresh button here if things change and you want to update, but it uses the same password that you log in to Rentman with, and that email address. So here I am, back over here. I'm going to log in as me to rentman.online. I have no upcoming appointments. Maybe I should. Why don't I go and create myself an upcoming appointment just to. I will say it's at this property. Oh, I should have said reviewing with an applicant. Great. So when I do that and I go back in and I log in, I'm back in as myself. If I refresh the screen, did I not assign that to myself? Oh, did I? Oh, it's tomorrow, I bet. If I go in here and I look at my appointments, yeah, it's it's not today's appointment. Or it is today's appointment, but we've gone past it. But there it is. If it was an upcoming appointment, we would have seen it over here on the dashboard. Either way, I've got my tasks. I've got tasks there as well. I can open up the appointment. I can edit the appointment, change the time, save it, everything you'd expect to be able to do from here. What I can also do from here is look up applicants that I've got set up on this system. I can look up properties that I've got set up on this system. I can look up landlords here, and again, email address, telephone number, and if you're on an iPad or a phone, you just click that and it'll auto dial, obviously, as you'd expect. But you can change them as well. But there is offers as well. There is, of course, a search as well. So you can filter this long list of properties, landlords, or applicants. But what we can do as well, if I go over here into tenancies, show you another part of the, excuse me, another part of the tenants login. So imagine you're out at a property, you're showing it to some applicants, and all's gone well, they want it. So you're still on your phone or an iPad at the property with the applicants. You click new tenancy and you say, well, here's my property. Here's my tenant. Tenancy is going to start on this date. The rent is going to be $1,200 a month. And I'm going to click save. Now, that is exactly the same as going through the new tenancy wizard in Rentman. And what it will have done automatically, if we've set it up to do so, it will have sent out the email credentials to all of those new tenants. And it will have, if you've configured it for to do automatic references, it will send out a reference request for these new tenants from Rentman Online while you're at the office. Don't take my word for it. We go in and we take a look. Here is our new tenancy. Yay. And this tenant can now log in exactly as the previous tenant did. Now, I'm not going to log in as that one. I'm going to go back to where I was logged in before as this tenant, because what the new tenants can do is they can come up here and they can say register. I've timed out while I've been talking. So these new tenants can log in and say register. And now you will have had a certain amount of contact information while they were applicants on the system. Username, first name, telephone number, mobile, etc. But they can come in here and they can enter in their previous address, a forwarding address, their right to rent information, visa details if that's what it is. They can attach a photograph of their passport. They can attach a driver's license, national insurance number, all of the stuff that you have to enter into Rentman, they can do themselves through Rentman.online, their banking information and their employer information. And then they just click save. Now it's worth saying, and they don't have to do it all in one go. That's all there over the next days until the tenancy starts. Once the tenancy has started, they cannot change this. They cannot submit new information. You don't want a tenant changing their email or mobile number as soon as their rent becomes outstanding. If they do try and change it, once the tenancy has begun, let's go and find where that tenant is. No, that's not it. Close that down. Excuse me a moment. Let's just open it up again. So we're logged in as Noah, and when you go back to this screen, the notes, if they do try to change that information after the tenancy has started, it doesn't change it. They look as though they've submitted it. They'll think they've submitted it, but instead it's just put a note in here to tell you they tried to change the details after the tenancy started. It looks a bit gibberish at the moment, but real data would appear in there if they'd put a new telephone number, a new email address that was legitimate, that you did then want to take and update their information. So I think that's as much as I wanted to cover today. There was, obviously, you have gathered by now, this wasn't the live session. Any questions and answers, emails, submitting, anything, ideas that people have as how to improve it, I'm all ears. Please do let me know. I'm also keen on topics for subsequent webinars. So please let me know if you've any ideas of things you'd like me to go through. This one I'd intended to be the right to rent legislation, but of course that got delayed. And I'm not even sure we're going to have it in its final form until July or August. For implementation, it's being suggested in the January, February 26. There will be a webinar covering that as soon as we get the documentation and we know what the legislation looks like in its final form. Any other suggestions, please do let me know. Otherwise, thank you, and we'll talk next month.